Okay, so before anybody decides to open their mouths and do whatever, that's cool. Just understand, this is an opinion video based off of the community's overall the community's reaction to the current Legends DA trailer. I myself am not going to present my opinion in this video. I will not do it. Because if I vocalize my opinion, it kind of compromises the idea of making opinion related videos. So, that being said, play my shit and get it over with. Alright, the first thing we're going to talk about is the lack of exploration in Pokemon Legends EA. Now, one of the main things that people have been complaining about is that, obviously, as big as Lumio City is that the entire region is virtually locked off, and we are going to be using Lumio City as the hub for our entire adventure through Legends ZA. Now, I understand where some people are coming from with this idea about, oh, it's not a whole Kalos remake, it's not a Legends game in an extent, and it's more so just a test for the next generation. Now, for those of you who are not aware, Pokemon has this bad habit to decide whether they want to incorporate certain mechanics from previous games into the mainline titles. And to be honest, this is probably going to be the only thing that stands out the most, and that would be, the real-time battles of, being incorporated in Generation X, which is possibly going to come out next year anyway. So, yeah. Number two, and this is one of the biggest ones, the starters. Now, everybody has had an issue with the fact that there are 2 Gen 2 starters and 1 Gen 5 starter. Now, everybody in the comments that I've seen have said, oh, this Pokemon deserves more highlight, this Pokemon, and that Pokemon. Understandable. But the validated reason behind the starters being who they are is as follows. Now, generally, every Pokemon starter that returns in newer games, after another mainline title has come out, is specifically based off popularity. Now, a lot of people, believe it or not, for those of you who are old enough old enough at this point, when Pokemon Black and White and Black and White 2 came out, there was relatively not a lot of love for Tepig as a starter, strictly off the fact that by that point, we already relatively had a couple full fire and fighting starter types, and a lot of people genuinely were not satisfied. They were not happy, because coming from around that time period, that was, during the Coral scan leaks and stuff like that. So it's like the general I'm not even gonna call it disrespect. The general reception for seeing Tepig, Chikorita, and Totodile is, yeah, it is understandable, but it's also based off the Pokemon Company standing on the concept that a lot of other starter Pokemon outside of Gen 2 have been getting more respect and more, playtime versus, the Gen 2 starters. Because even when, Sword and Shield came out, we didn't relatively have all the starters then either. And even then, like a lot of people do this every time there's a new mainline game. There's, oh, I can't have my favorite starter. Oh, I want my favorite starter. Oh, I can't live without my favorite starter. It goes like that. So, it's literally just them giving the Gen 2 starters the love they need. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously, because of Hisuian Typhlosion being a thing, they decided that, okay, let's see if we can give the other 2 Gen 2 starters some love and affection. But to each his own. And finally, the biggest thing is the gameplay. Now, some people are complaining about gameplay. Now, why gameplay is the last thing on this list is simply this. I said this earlier in the video, and I'm going to say it again. Pokemon Legends ZA is specifically going to use real-time battles as a staple for the next mainline game. Now, for those of you who don't understand what that means in particular, allow me to elaborate a little further for you. It means that if the new gameplay mechanics, such as in this case Mega Evolution, were to prove to be more popular or a well-used, if not overall used mechanic in the game, it could carry on into a future title. Now, for those of you who are not aware of that being a thing, let me break it down for you. First time we got Megas was back in 2013. X and Y, we got that. Then we got them again and additional Megas in Pokemon Auras, which is Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire respectively. Now, take it back a little further, that's about as far as we got with the Megas. And then the anime pretty much rode the wave with that one. And then again, we got another what we thought as fans was a Mega Evolution, but it really wasn't. It turned out to be what was called a Battle Bond. Now, Battle Bond, even though it was relatively only, particularly an anime exclusive character, a lot of people assumed it was a Mega Evolution for the Gen 6 starter Greninja. And because again, it was not, it got later turned out that it wasn't, and it is what it is. And the last thing. This one's a big one. People complaining about it not being a quote Legends spin-off sequel. Now this one I actually have a little more respect for, because originally just off the first trailer that we got, the very first trailer we got for Legends ZA was extraordinarily misleading. It really was. And I'll be honest, I'm on that bandwagon too, that it was misleading. A lot of us thought it was like pre-modern Kalos region, which means we would get different starters from different gens, just like we did in Legends Arceus, and they would turn around and get different final evolutions, just like, the starters from Legend Arceus. We were definitely taken for a ride with that one. I'm not gonna hold you, and honestly, it is what it is. Because personally, I don't think that we're going to get regional evolutions for the current starters that we have in Legends ZA. I'm being honest about that. I don't think it's going to happen. Because if they went this far to completely take out the concept of it being a Legends game in general and it being in the future, it's perfectly understandable that most people are not impressed or just overall just turned off by it. I understand. I fully understand. But the only thing that seems to be more, I would say, expected is that we'll probably get more Megas. And then that the final evolutions of our starters will probably get Megas as well. That seems to be the only thing that's more concrete about the situation. But again, let me know what y'all think.